Beer.
I love it.
Fantastic. That's exactly what I have written next. I love it. You love it, which you do. You said it. Australia loves it. That's important. Does Australia love beer?
We love
Yes,
our
we
beer.
do.
We do. Australians drink on average 80 litres of beer per capita every year. It's quite a lot of beer. So do you think I reckon I drink 80 litres of beer, probably more.
Is that 160 pints? Pints 500 mil?
Yeah, a bit over 575.
575. Okay,
I hope
so
my GP's not listening.
140 pints a year each. Doesn't actually sound like that much, realistically.
I really
Every
only
2
enjoy
days.
a
Well, this is
snifter
per
of
capita. A lot of
port.
people don't drink beer. Maybe they don't drink at all. Anyway, Australians love beer. Let's just go with that. That's what we're going with. Because today's story, we'll be talking about how Australia won its first international football trophy in an active war zone, drinking only beer.
Oh,
That's fantastic.
I love that. I am so keen for this story. Hello and welcome to the Wild World of Sport, the podcast where three friends sit down and definitely today crack a couple of beers and hear a story about the wildest things that have ever happened in the world of sport and then try and rank it. My name is James Whybrow.
I'm James's brother Ben, no relation.
I'm Carlin, also no relation.
Carlin the beer drinker. Sheaves.
Yes, that's me. So today's story does have to do with beer, but more importantly, it has to do with the Vietnam War, I suppose. So a bit of background for listeners. I'll get this up. I roughly know this on my head, but
And
we'll
James
get the
and Ben.
notes. And James as well, yeah. So you know French Indochina, James?
French Indochina. Let's pretend I don't.
Okay.
I already don't
We
like
don't.
them.
So French Indochina was a French colony in like below China. It was like basically modern day Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam. It was a colony for ages. World War II, the Japanese invaded. There was an insurgency against the Japanese, which the Americans actually helped. And then World War II finished. The French wanted to make it a colony again, so they fought the Vietnamese for a while. Then the Vietnamese won. Indochina split, so the UN made a resolution. They created the country of Laos, Cambodia, and North Vietnam and South Vietnam. They got into a war. I think most people know about that. The 1964 Gulf of Tonkin incident was when they made the excuse to send troops to the US by a red flag attack on a ship. 1965, LBJ commits US ground troops. 1967, November, is when this tournament we will be talking about takes place. And 1968 is the peak of the fighting in Vietnam and the deadliest year.
Seems like a terrible time to hold a tournament.
Well, yes. So you think that's an awful time to hold a tournament.
Although it depends what sort of tournament
Good
you're
for
going to
morale.
hold. A football tournament? Yeah, maybe not a great idea. A military exercise tournament, like, you know, the boot camp training.
Yeah.
Could be part of it in your base. Who can get through it the quickest? Seems like a fair tournament to do during wartime.
I mean, I'm sure they do plenty of those, but the South Vietnamese government basically ran this tournament every year with Southeast Asian teams. But this year they decided, okay, we're going to invite some other teams. They invited some teams from East Asia and invited Australia and New Zealand. We'll get to all that, though.
Whoa.
First, we'll do a little background on the Socceroos, because around this time, you probably know a bit more about this, James. Like 1960 Socceroos, not going very well. So the 1966 World Cup, they failed to qualify for. There's a Oceania, Asia spot. So they had to play in that qualifier to get into the 1966 World Cup. They were meant to be in a group with North Korea, South Korea, and South Africa. First of all, I think that's pretty crazy because this is
How is
12
Africa
years
part
after
of Oceania or Asia? That's
Yeah.
my question. Let alone the Koreas.
It's not rugby union with a rugby championship.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they're in that, but maybe there's one more thing on that. But I swear it read just Asian Oceania qualifier, and there was one spot. But anyway,
So when you said that, I thought, the most interesting thing in this group is going to be the North Korea versus South Korea match.
That's
and then
what
you
I was
threw
thinking.
all of that out when you said South Africa.
And then all the North Korean athletes then defect after the game. Halftime, just go into the locker room and don't come out.
all right, well, anyway, didn't really matter too much because basically, because Australia visa laws. So before that even, South Africa got kicked out of the group because of the apartheid government. We covered this,
yes.
Sergio. So
Seem to have a thing for...
they were all into running marathons and stuff at this time because they weren't allowed. So they just got banned. So South Africa no longer was in the group, and then South Korea pulled out for logistical issues because of this bit. So Australia's visa laws wouldn't let the North Koreans come to Australia basically because they were communists, and the North Koreans didn't have a FIFA standard stadium to host as well. So they basically hosted it in Cambodia, which is a communist North Korean ally. They offered to assist, but South Korea wouldn't get over there. So they ended up dropping out. So it ended up just being Australia and North Korea in the group. So you think nowadays, right? Lucky us, right?
Yeah.
Two people out of the group already. We've just got North Korea left.
And I don't know much about the Asian football in the 60s, but now if I had to pick between playing North Korea or South Korea, I'd pick North Korea.
I wouldn't pick playing in Cambodia, though.
Yeah, it's a weird
location.
Neutral ground.
He's an ally of the communist North Koreans.
To give a bit of historical perspective too, for football, I'm not so sure, but I guess this story might tell a little bit. But in general, North Korea actually was the more advanced, nicer place to live at first, but then South Korea got better. But for a while, South Korea was a pretty brutal, poor capitalist dictatorship that was really corrupt. It still is, has corruption problems and stuff, but obviously it's a lot...
What country doesn't?
Nicer and more developed now, and so it's nicer than the North. But at first, North Korea was sort of a nicer place to live. So you'd assume their football team's pretty good compared to the South. Is
it like how it is now, where their football teams won every single World Cup they've ever competed in, according to
and Kim
their
Jong-un
news?
scored every goal, and he was every defender.
But he also, before played 18 holes of golf, got a hole-in-one in every single one.
He did do that, actually, and that's next week's story, believe it or not.
Ben told you what he's doing?
No, I'm not doing that story.
I thought you were doing Trump's golf, where he gets hole-in-ones all the time.
Has he ever hit a hole-in-one?
If you ask him, he definitely has. If you ask anyone he's ever played with, they'll probably say yes because they don't want to upset him.
Yeah, they don't want to be on the list.
There is
no list.
That's aura.
All right, so North Korea qualified. Australia didn't qualify. What do you think the score was? It was 2 games, double leg.
Two games. Did we score once?
We did.
We did. I'm going to say it's total aggregate. It's going to be 9-2.
I say we didn't score at all, and it was an own goal, and Carlin's tricking us, and we lost 15-0.
Okay,
aggregate.
Very impressive from Ben. It was 9-2 aggregate.
Really?
So 6-1 we lost in the first game, and 1-3 we lost in the next game. Both games in Cambodia, but yeah, got absolutely flogged by the North Koreans. It was embarrassing. It was bad. Important to note as well, the Socceroos weren't actually the Socceroos back then. At this stage, they were the Australian national football team. The Socceroos name didn't get coined for a few more years.
Well, that's probably good. They would have been called the Socceroos in all the media outlets.
Yeah. So this was it was a rough time to be a Australian footballer or a football fan. It's not going well for Australia. So that was the failure of the World Cup. The Socceroos, you would know this, James, qualified for the World Cup in 1974.
Yeah, we
coincidentally is a little bit after this. So a lot of this is actually the groundwork that has laid the beginning foundations of Australian
This
football.
was the kick up the arse we needed. Do we
This
know?
was the kick up the arse we needed.
I'm sure we could find the players and send them all hate mail for losing to North Korea. But we won't. We don't condone sending hate mail to athletes for bad performances.
Well, depending on age, some of them are going to be in their early 80s at least.
So they deserve it? They deserve hate mail.
No, they don't deserve hate mail. But I mean, we say this was the catalyst for us to go to the World Cup and not score a goal or get a single point.
Well, yeah, we didn't do well in that, but
that's not the point.
They just decided they're look, we need to do better. So they made this young team, unproven talent, lots of young players, a new coach. His name was Joe Vlastis. Yeah,
sounds like a football coach.
Brand new team. 8 of these players would actually end up on the team that qualified for the 1974 World Cup. So this squad's important. Basically, the South Vietnamese government, like I was saying before, put together this tournament. They do it with Southeast Asian countries, but they decided this time, look, let's invite some East Asian countries. They invite Japan and stuff too, but they didn't come. But they did invite New Zealand and Australia, so they're the only non-Southeast Asian teams, other than Hong Kong as well, which is close, but it's East Asian spot, like next to China.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's a lot more
Yeah.
Southeast Asia than Australia
So-
and New Zealand.
Like there's Hong Kong, which technically is like a new country to this thing, but other than that, all the other countries said no, and Australia and New Zealand are sort of like the odd ones out here. This is also New Zealand's first international football tournament ever.
Go New Zealand.
Yeah. Good on you guys.
Did they win?
No, we did.
Classic.
he said it at the start.
It's called a callback.
A callback. Okay.
All right. Funny guy. So,
Get him. Get his ass.
yeah, so there were some Australian cabinet ministers that were like, cool, South Vietnam's invited us to this event. This would be really good for like PR. You know, looks like we're being good to our ally, and also we need to send this team out to play in a tournament because we need to train them up because we need to qualify for the next World Cup, you know.
Did
Like, they're trying.
anyone come and knock on the door and say, excuse me, this is an active war zone that we're sending these guys to?
Well, we'll get to that. So, about these Australian players as well, they all had jobs back at home and they had to take work off. They were paid, though. It doesn't sound like a lot, so they were given $50 a week and $10 spending money for the trip. That actually does convert to $776 a week nowadays. That's not that bad. And $155 spending money for the trip.
The whole trip.
The whole trip.
The whole trip.
Yeah.
And they just drank beer. Beer must have been real cheap on this trip.
Their flights got covered and they got told they could keep their tracksuits as a souvenir as well. So that's pretty
Wow.
cool.
Very generous.
Yeah. So, you know, they're living it up. But otherwise, we're like, it's like an Auckland City sort of thing. We've got, you know, these players are like fresh, new players that have jobs. They're just
Very
taking
amateur.
time off. Yeah. So, and we've just been flogged as well by the North Koreans, and we're about to go versus a bunch of other Asian teams. Australia's nervous. Australia's pretty scared. So the players fly in, and one of the players was talking about how basically they'd been told, it's safe, don't worry about it. Like, there's soldiers everywhere, you'll be all good.
That sentence doesn't compute to me.
soldiers
Don't
that
worry,
keep
it's
you
safe. But there's soldiers everywhere with guns in an active war zone. But don't worry.
They're there to keep you safe. They're the soldiers on your side.
Well, yeah. So,
Okay. Sure, there's the soldiers on my side. But what's the objective of the other side? To kill the soldiers on this side. And where are the soldiers? Right next to me.
To be fair, it probably was pretty dangerous for them, but the players did say as well that they actually felt pretty safe. They had armed guards with them for the entire trip. They weren't never allowed to go without armed guards. So they knew like it was a dangerous situation, but they're like, oh, whatever, we got armed guards. And like, no, they're not going to let anything happen to us.
I guess to be fair, this is still a common occurrence now in a lot of other sports. Say the Australian cricket team tours India and Pakistan and stuff, that they've got guards with them, even South Africa as well.
Yeah. So it's not too ridiculous that they felt fine. But I say this, one of the players was talking about how as they're flying in on the plane, the pilot
Fortunate song
apologized.
starts playing.
They start dropping bombs.
Flying on choppers instead.
The pilot apologized after the landing because he had basically flown in really high and then just gone and then landed. Like nosedive, boom, landed on the tarmac. So everyone was freaking out, and he's like, "Sorry guys, they told me the Viet Cong were nearby and they were going to shoot at us, so we had to do this." So
That doesn't say.
That makes you feel so safe.
yeah, very safe. And also, they said they saw crater holes from bombs and they could see gunfire traces and explosions as they were landing.
They would have had some good vision to see that as they're nosediving.
Yeah. It would have been exciting, I'm sure. It was also monsoon season, which I don't know if you've ever experienced monsoon season in Southeast Asia, but not nice. Hot, sticky, wet. The fields are all muddy. So the national team's medic, when they landed, told all the players you can't drink the water, and they were very restricted on what food they could have. You're only allowed to drink beer, they said, because the water was going to make you're going to get like dysentery or something. So, yeah, which, funnily enough, I believe them. I went to Vietnam recently. I had the same thing happen to me. So
This sounds
True.
like the ultimate postseason footy trip. Except they're going to go play sport.
Imagine
we
the-
should arrange this. with
Imagine
boys.
the medical advice. You go to your GP or something, go, sorry, don't drink water, just drink beer. Otherwise, you'll get sick.
That it's such a wild thing that it's the beer's better for you.
Well,
I mean, I can understand
as long as you
why,
keep drinking beer, you just get really drunk.
But then the hangover, and then I guess part of the hangover is the withdrawal, so you just keep drinking.
I guess they were just drinking like light beers, but that's what they had to do. Maybe modern medicine wasn't really that good back then, because I feel like beer wasn't a great choice. But I don't know, they did that back in the day too. But it was low alcohol beer.
I mean, beer's better than telling him to drink just spirits.
Yeah. Police escorted the teams to the hotel after they landed, and they all stayed in the same hotel. Teams got to train on the roof of the hotel. They got to like take turns, but they all like stayed on different floors. Australians were like near the top floor, then the Koreans, so they all stayed in the same hotel, and they
like the roof, the exposed roof, of the hotel.
They would be on the roof, and
in
they
a
would
war zone.
like, yes. So
where they said that when on flying in, they had to nosedive in.
So
from
one day,
fear of being shot down.
One day they were evacuated off the roof because some Viet Cong got onto the roof on the building next door and tried to blow up the building.
What?
So they got that close to them, but the players went, we never felt unsafe.
Yeah, these guys were pissed out of their heads, apparently. Yeah, I felt fine.
That's probably why they felt so safe.
Oh, look at these guys over there. Hey, guys.
It gets better, though. It gets better.
You guys are the bomb.
Yeah.
They also trained in basically like cow paddocks too. It was like when they did go down to like the grass. Yeah, there's like this paddock that they played in, which was just mud basically.
Also, sorry, just a little bit that I know about the Vietnam War. A lot of landmines. And still today, a lot of landmines haven't been discovered, and there's a lot of areas they can't go.
It's funny you say that. So someone skied a ball over the over the crossbar and jumped the fence to go grab it, and the soldiers started freaking out. And they're like, "Stop! Stop! Stop! Don't move!" And then they all came out with like detectors. And then after that, none of the players were allowed to jump over the fence because of the landmines around the field.
That's good motivation. You've got to get all your shots on target, otherwise you're going to blow up.
Yeah, not getting that ball back.
That really is the ultimate kick it over the mean neighbour's fence, and so the ball's gone forever.
Yeah, there's a mean dog in the fence that's scary. It's like, okay, go there, your legs are gone.
You jumped the fence.
They're
No, I
already
got the ball
legless.
last time.
I think the soldiers did go get some balls for them, which was nice. But yeah, I probably lost a few. It'd be cool if one like hit a mine. Just... Anyway, that's basically their training and everything. So they're like running around in muddy fields, getting ready for this tournament, drinking only beer, thinking they're going to get flogged by a bunch of Asian teams because they just got flogged by North Korea. The games were like pretty tense as well. They get to their first game. There's about 20 to 40,000 people in most of the games. So good
That
crowd.
just seems like a prime target for a
Well-
military attack. It's, hey, we've got 20 to 40,000 people on the other side of this war, civilians.
That was like, so the games were really tense because like the crowds were pretty rowdy and like they were excited to see sport because, you know, like this is cool, like the Australian team's coming, and like they didn't get to see this because like they're a war-torn country. But
And we're going to kill them. Well, no, sorry. Bad choice of words. We're going to beat them at football because they're really bad.
Well, the Vietnamese actually do pretty well, so we'll get to that too. But yeah, the atmosphere was really tense. There's lots of unrest, and there's armed soldiers all over the place. Every game, they had to sweep the fields for explosives. I said minefields. That's what it was. They're playing on minefields. But yeah, they think the Viet Cong had planted some mines on the field the night before. They like snuck in, so they're like sweeping fields and stuff, making sure there's no bombs. And
if I was one of the players, I wouldn't want to be told that.
I'd assume most of this stuff they were probably told after, because no way you would tell
I'm not
this
going
in
out
the
there.
moment.
I'm not going out there to play.
Yeah.
They go, hey, sorry, the Viet Cong, famous for their guerrilla tactics, may have snuck in and booby-trapped the stadium.
If
Go
I
out
was the
and play.
keeper, I'd just be standing in the middle of the goal there and not moving. Come out to clear a ball. No. Defenders come back and get it. I am not moving from this spot that I know is safe.
We've got to remember too, I guess, that like I was saying with the like sort of history of it. So next year is like the deadliest year, and it's also the year like the Tet Offensive happens. So the Tet Offensive basically was this turning point in like the middle of the Vietnam War, or like the war with the Americans anyway, where America was saying, we're winning, like soon it's going to be over, like this is all working, everything's going really well. And the North Vietnamese, a little bit delusionally, go like, oh, like the South will just rise up, let's make a big attack. They get all these people ready, and there's Tet's like this Vietnamese holiday. They celebrate Tet early, which is like really weird. Normally you'd have a truce at Tet, and you wouldn't like fight each other. But they celebrated Tet early, had all their celebrations. The South Vietnamese go on their Tet celebrations, then they attack them while they're like celebrating basically. So it's a pretty dog move, but they fight back really fiercely. And actually it was like a big American victory militarily. And all like the military is like, oh yeah, cool. That was their last gasp. They tried to like save it all and they lost. Like, you know, look how like we just killed them all. Yeah. But what it actually did to the public was make them go, hang on, like we've been at this for years. They kept telling us like we've killed so many of them. They're like armies deteriorated. How are they still fighting? And now all of a sudden they've mustered this giant attack. So that happens next year. So up until then, all these people are probably thinking, well, we're winning the war and stuff. So there's lots of soldiers and stuff, but they're still high on like the victory of World War II and stuff. They're being told they're winning this war. So there's this stuff going on, but I guess perspective at the time probably would have been, we're safe, we're going to win this war sort of thing.
Sort of a bit, I don't know a whole lot about war history, but Germany, before it all starts going badly, they're winning the war and they're going over and invading Russia. And if you really look at it, the writing's on the wall and it's not going to go their way. But right now, we're up. We're feeling good.
Yeah. Well, hey, the Germans did very well, I suppose, but then I guess they were always going to lose what they were stacked against. But this podcast is not about war history, despite it featuring heavily in today's podcast. I'll continue on this bit. So they were also quite wary of kids at the stadiums because the year before there was a bombing. So like some Viet Cong kids like suicide bomb, like carried a bomb in and at the same stadium that they were playing at and killed 11 people. So everyone's pretty nervous about that and stuff, and keeping the security of it. They know the Viet Cong could be a threat, but they think they've got it covered.
So I imagine no child mascots walking out with the players to start the game then.
Probably not. No. And in fact, I did see a photo, and I suppose you get the photo of them after standing there anyway, but I don't remember seeing any kids at them, so I don't think so. Yes, so the tournament begins. Group stage, Australia plays New Zealand first. What do you think the score was?
Australia versus New Zealand, 4-1 Australia.
I'm going to say 2-0 to Australia.
2-0. It's a thriller, 5-3 to Australia.
Ooh, good game.
A fantastic game. So, Australia had a thriller against New Zealand. In their second game, they come up against Vietnam. And this is where, like you were saying, I think the Vietnamese aren't great. They're actually pretty good. So the players were pretty shocked by how fast and nimble the Vietnamese players were.
I was saying Australia, like the Vietnam population's going to go, yeah, this is going to be great because we're going to beat Australia because they're not good.
Okay, right. Well, that's quite true then because they did pretty well, but they didn't win. So Australia won 1-0. So Vietnam, pretty solid team. They actually come third in the end, so they win their third place decider. Not so important. They're not our main heroes here. But basically, Australia had played Vietnam here, won 1-0. They're getting really nervous because we got humbled by North Korea, and now we just won. We beat Vietnam 1-0. It's like, God, this is going to be tough. They beat Singapore 5-1 in their last group match. Pretty good.
Good for the goal difference.
Yeah. So they're feeling pretty solid. They make it through. In the knockout stage, they go up against Malaysia. And pretty rowdy game, this one. I'm not exactly sure why, but tear gas gets deployed on the crowd. So
no,
it's better than flares. Not better than flares. I mean the opposite. It's like
worse than flares.
Worse than flares. Imagine being drunk and then you're just getting tear gas wafting over on you
when
you're trying to play in a muddy potential minefield. It just sounds awful.
Yeah, no, not ideal.
I wonder if they were employing tiki-taka tactics with that, or if it really is just hoof the ball up.
What's worse than that? Having the vuvuzelas and all the laser pointers in your face when you're trying to do anything, or playing drunk with tear gas on a minefield?
That's a good point. I forgot they were drunk too. Yeah, so maybe they didn't even notice the tear gas because they're like, oh. It goes to extra time, and they end up winning in extra time 1-0. So they've gone through the semi-final to the final where they verse South Korea, not North Korea. The game almost didn't, the grand final almost didn't take place because the Australian soldiers, the supporters that were coming and watching, that wanted to watch the game, and they were watching all the previous ones, weren't allowed into the final because the stadium was full. So the police were like, nah, it's too full, you can't come in. So the Australian team said, look, if you're not letting them in, we're leaving. That's it.
Based Australia.
Yeah, good
based
on you.
Australia.
Your troops are there. You're there to support your troops.
Yeah, and that's it. So it was a happy ending as well because they're fine. They let the soldiers in. And to the Australians' surprise, they were like, because they're scared, right? Because the North Korea lost. So they're like, we're going to go into this and South Korea is going to flog us. So we're not going in without our supporters. To their surprise, they get in, and the South Vietnamese actually wanted to go for the Australians. So no one was cheering for the South Koreans. They were all cheering for the Australians. So pretty good in the end. That goodness ends quite quickly. Whistle blows and South Korea score in the first minute of the game.
Well, that's not good for morale.
It's
Not
not
a good
great.
start.
Not a great start. But that's okay. Billy Wojtek scores in the 36th minute, a superb solo goal.
That sounds like a PES creator player name.
All the player names, to be honest, are a little bit funky. But I don't know, was that just Australia back then? Yeah, Billy Wojtek gets a goal in the 36th minute. And then Attila Abonni scores in the second half. That's Australia. And then Korea scores again. So it's 2-2. And then finally, Johnny Warren, captain of the, not Socceroos, but Socceroos,
Well, yes, I know Johnny Warren.
scores the winning goal of the game. And that was it. They won their first ever international football tournament, drunk as skunks, with gunfire around them, at the threat of landmines. Yeah, that's pretty much it. The legacy of it is a bit interesting because you don't even know about this, really. And I find that super interesting because, like I was saying, like the 8 of these players basically went on to be in the World Cup qualifying team that, like, in 1974. So all of this tournament laid the groundwork for, like, Australian football, but it's for some reason just forgotten, like a piece of history. It's our first ever international tournament win.
I can sort of understand why it's been swept under the rug a little bit. That does anyone really want to talk about a tournament in a war zone against?
I suppose, like, you just don't talk about Vietnam, sort of thing.
Yeah, and apart from South Korea, none of these nations now are regarded as good at football. New Zealand is definitely on the up and a lot better, but Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, not what you'd call football powerhouse.
I think when you're trying to portray that we're a serious country with a serious footballing pedigree and program, going, yeah, we went to South Vietnam, didn't drink any of the water because the facilities weren't adequate because they're in a war zone.
Yeah.
And we just got drunk and played in very unsafe stadiums and environments. It doesn't scream pedigree
I
and
guess.
prestige. We better have gone, okay, all kind of starts when 1974 we qualify for our first World Cup. And that's where the story starts.
I would have at least
But if you think
thought-
about it, it's their first, like, international football trophy. That's huge. Like,
Oh, we got a trophy?
Yeah, we won.
We won
No,
the whole
but
thing.
I don't know, you would get a trophy?
When do you win a
yeah.
tournament and not get a trophy?
Well, I'm thinking maybe all the metal was going to bullet casings or something there.
Wasn't that bad. We weren't on a war economy for Vietnam.
No, we weren't, but they were.
They had
They
enough
were
to do
getting
the tournament.
all the stuff given by America. It's not like they were really producing
So
stuff
we
themselves.
made our own trophy.
No.
Or they supplied the trophy.
What I mean, I'm assuming they were like, it's fine. Like, the Americans are giving them stuff. Like, what I mean, like a royal we, like as in us and the Americans and such. Like, they're allies. They had supplies. Like,
Thank you, American taxpayers, for paying for our international
yeah,
football
this is the
trophy.
wild
Our
wild
first.
story of how the American taxpayer paid for Australia's first ever international football trophy.
That's what they
while
talk
we were
about when they
drunk.
talk about the cost of Vietnam.
They're like, those damn drunk Australians. I'm not buying them a trophy.
Yeah, we didn't really help the stereotype there about the beer drinking. But I would have thought going back
And we didn't
to
help the stereotype of Australians not being good at football. We won. What's going on there?
But going back, I would have thought this would be brought up a lot more for the Asian Cup in 2015.
Or 2015, yeah. Yeah,
We played
'cause
South Korea in the
literally it was the final, so it's like rematch of like the first ever thing. Yeah, I was thinking that too because, like, yeah, you would bring that up, right? They did. So when I was looking through interviews with the players and stuff, can't remember his name. It was like Robbie something. Anyway, he was saying that he was talking about the game that was coming up. So they were interviewing before some game, and it was from about 3 years ago. I think it might have been. Would that be a World Cup qualifier? It was against Vietnam.
Yeah, sounds
So
about
that's
right.
why they were talking about it, which makes sense because the tournament was in Vietnam, and also they played Vietnam and everything, and it was like really tight and stuff. And so they're talking about their prospects against playing Vietnam in this upcoming game. So that was the context that it was brought up in the interviews, rather than, like, I didn't find anything around the time 2015 Asian Cup was. But yeah, so I thought that was really weird too, because yeah,
And
I
as
went to
well,
that game, it was awesome.
that's our first ever major trophy.
yeah. So our
And
first ever
only.
major trophy and our first ever international trophy period we got against South Korea. Probably while drunk both times.
Is it recognised by other nations apart from the ones that competed to go? Like, oh, you won the Euros. Oh,
Well,
you won
it's
the
recognised,
South
but,
Korean
it's
invitation-only Warzone
It's
Classic.
called the 1967 South Vietnamese Independence Cup. So, and they were hosting it every year before that since they became independent, became South Vietnam with just Southeast Asian countries. But then they were like, oh, we're going to do a really big one. We'll invite some other guys. Yeah.
We'll invite Australia in. They're good fun.
Yeah. They're good fun. They're helping us out.
They won't be complaining the fact they can't drink water because they just want to drink beer anyway.
They're like, oh, if we invite Australia, we've got to invite New Zealand. Like,
Yeah, they're practically our little brother.
yeah.
We don't even have it on the Socceroos honour board on Football Australia, this trophy. FIFA Confederations Cup, we've got runners-up in third
Well, I
place.
guess technically too, they weren't the Socceroos yet, and maybe the whole federation changed after that because
They were
they were
amateur
going through a lot of
players.
changes. So this, because like I said as well, this was like a young, inexperienced team. They sort of just picked these players up and were like, "Here, off you go." The government was like, we're going to go send a young team to go compete in this thing for propaganda." So they were hoping to get this team some experience and stuff, but at the same time, it was like just a PR move, a propaganda sort of tool to send them to this tournament and like help out like their ally or whatever.
I guess it would be hard to find, but any of our soldiers that were fighting in Vietnam, were they footballers that went, I was right there already, why'd you have to pay the transport cost for these people? I would have played.
Well, I mean, I didn't find any stories like that, but after these games, Australia actually went on a bit of a tour in like the South Vietnam, like a small tour in South Vietnam where they went to like a military base, I think, and they did play with some soldiers and stuff. So they played a game against them, which they won. And then they like flew, I think, to like Malaysia and played a game there, and they won that. I think they went to Singapore. But they played 10 games all up before they got back to Australia, and they won every single one.
Well,
Those other ones weren't official games, though. Only the cup ones were.
I'm looking at the Socceroos, our history.
Yeah.
And I know you said they weren't the Socceroos, but it starts with the history of their first match in 1922 against New Zealand. So well before this. And it talks about playing and losing against North Korea where you started.
Well, they
and
were...
then it jumps. It just skips over this whole tournament where we win. There's not even a mention of it.
Okay, that's pretty interesting.
What are we hiding?
They were referred to as the Socceroos. So so in the interview, one of the interviews I was looking at where they go, all the old players come together at like the Sydney Cricket Ground. When they're talking, they refer to each other like as the Socceroos team of 1967. So they identify themselves retrospectively as Socceroos, but the name wasn't coined until a few years later.
Maybe there's some rules and regulations of it can't be the national team unless you hold certain things. You can't just have amateur players that then get brought in for one tour that aren't ever playing again or something.
I suppose, but then also maybe it's just like the tournament, it's like a propaganda tournament in a war zone. So maybe
the tournament's not internationally recognised apart from those
That's what I
teams.
think.
Yeah.
But we're a country that wants trophies. Let's add one next to us.
I think it's like Spurs saying we won the Aldi Cup, we won a trophy.
This isn't pre-season though. If anything, what tournament is harder to play in than one in an active war
To
zone?
be fair, it actually is kind of like pre-season because it's basically like them getting ready for their next qualifying like team. So they're like, that's like their pre-season. It's their warm-up.
Boom.
Well, all right. 2 against 1.
But it's still pretty impressive.
Good
What
on
you're
the
saying
boys.
at Spurs winning the Audi Cup isn't impressive.
Not really.
Not really, no.
Well, okay.
Now
we
with the
can't-
Europa under our belt.
We can't agree whether we should count it as a real trophy or whatever it is. But let's see if we can agree where we rank it on our wild and mild board when we come back from a break. Welcome back to the wild world of sport. If this is your first episode, this is the part of the show where we attempt to rank the wild story we just heard on our wild and mild board on our journey to find the wildest story from the world of sport.
I was just curious, how much did they drink? Because I know it's 2 to 3 litres of water. And then if you physically exert yourself, you need more water than that. So are they drinking 4 litres of beer a day? Do we have a number?
They didn't give a number. They just said they only drank beer. I imagine that's a little bit of hyperbole. I feel like they probably, like, if you were having, like, I don't know. You drink a lot of soup and stuff in like Vietnam. I don't imagine they actually did drink heaps of soup because they also said the food was really bad, and I feel like soup is nice. But
I guess depending on the soup as well. If it's like military ration,
Yeah.
here's sustenance, no flavor or joy.
yeah, I'm
in
just
it.
thinking of like nice for now.
I mean, if you're on what is essentially a boys' footy trip, and you have a choice between drinking soup or drinking beer,
I'm thinking, after they win, are they like, oh, let's hit the club and drink some beer? Or are they like, oh, we
No,
need something
because
else?
No, they're saying,
they've
let's hit
got,
the
like,
club and
armed
drink some
guards
soup.
and stuff.
Drink
So
some
they were
soup.
basically kept at the hotel like the whole time and everything. Like they couldn't really go out and have fun because the armed
What about
guards.
their $10 spending money?
Hotels have bars.
All right, let's rank this thing.
Okay. I'll start with where I think this is a pretty wild story. That because as well as the stuff that we've learnt from hearing it, that this is sort of a
Grassroots, like the beginning.
It's the beginning, but it's hidden. Like
Oh yeah, it's the secret hidden beginning of
the
the
Socceroos don't want to talk about this. From the looks of it, it's not on their website. It's not on the honor board. It's not part of their journey. I think it's a really cool story.
Yeah,
and I guess
no idea why it's not on the Socceroos thing. I mean, I didn't think about that when I was like researching it. That I didn't come across any like stuff on the Socceroos website or anything. It was mostly just like journalists and interviews with the team and things like that.
So I guess you could sort of quotation pre-season, but I think that plays into it. But the fact that they were playing a tournament in an active war zone.
Yeah, it was like a proper tournament. Like they went. It was like, yeah, they filmed it.
Yeah, played 4 or 5 games, didn't they?
Well, it was 3 games in group and then the semis and finals.
Finals,
they
yes,
played,
5 games. Played 5 games in an active war zone, just on beer for a PR stunt to go. We're helping our allies in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And not just playing, winning.
I feel like I'm getting a little desensitized, like the players are, though. It's like, it's not that crazy, it's just the Vietnam War, whatever. We were all chill with it back then. But it's like, think about that. It's actually insane that our first international football trophy was in a war zone and we were just drunk.
I can't imagine. It's like, oh, the Socceroos are going to Ukraine
Yeah.
to go play a tournament with.
Yeah, we'll go like versus
Other
the
European
Ukrainian
countries.
team and win the Ukrainian Independence Cup, but also get plastered the whole time.
Yeah, you can only drink vodka,
Yeah.
and you're playing in Ukraine, and we have to put wire mesh all around the stadium to stop drones coming in.
The players will be like, yeah, they told us it was safe. And then like as we're landing, a cruise missile like strikes an oil depot
Massive
next to
drone
the
attack.
airport.
Yeah, adding all in the war stuff. This is pretty wild.
Yeah.
And I think we like stories. Look at Chris Moneymaker. We like stories with a winner, where we're following a winner.
Yeah.
Whether we should or not rate winning stories higher. But we won. Australia won.
Well, that's part of the wildness, I think. Like, you could have a story that's like the whole wild bit is that they won.
I guess
like,
it depends on how often they win. Oh, Serena Williams won another Grand Slam. Is that
well,
really
that's the
that
thing.
wild?
Like an underdog victory,
Yeah.
that's wild, right? And in this instance, Australia was an underdog. We
Well,
sucked.
We didn't know. I think that's part of it. We didn't know the quality of other teams because we didn't play
Yeah.
international games very
What
often.
we had to go off was we got absolutely flogged by the North Koreans.
We got our ass handed to us by the North Koreans.
Yeah.
And then we bounced back.
Yeah. Hard.
And then, like you said as well, this is the catalyst for
Yeah, 8
us
players
qualifying
made it onto that team.
for the first ever World Cup. And irrespective of how we performed at that World Cup, that wasn't the goal. The goal was qualifying and making it. Now we set a much higher standard.
And back then, too, it would have been harder to qualify for the World Cup because there was less spots. So, that was an amazing achievement to get to the World Cup back then. Nowadays, it's like, there's a few teams that's like,
Just host it.
that are, yeah, you just host it, you get in. But like, that's it. There's a few dud teams nowadays. So, where would you place it, James?
Well, let's talk about the ranking. I think Eddie Goodell area, at least as a minimum, I'm wanting to start the conversation. So
brave.
upper echelons of the wilder side, top 25% of the wild side.
I mean, I do think it is pretty insane.
I'm just trying to put myself in the shoes of a player and going, this is going to be something that I will tell my grandkids about and go, this is one of the craziest things I've ever done in my life.
This is some
And
like
a professional
fantastic dad law. Oh, yeah, I won a football tournament. Oh, wow. Yeah, it was in an active war zone.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, I kicked the ball and it blew up a mine.
Yeah, we
Like,
weren't allowed
what?
to go chase the ball because if we missed the goal, it went into a minefield. Yeah, we got evacuated from our training session because the Viet Cong tried to blow up our hotel. That's pretty
Granddad,
crazy.
you're lying. Like that. Honestly, it sounds ridiculous.
It's not even on the Socceroos website, Granddad. What? You're a liar.
Yeah. Like, it literally sounds ridiculous. So I it's got to be pretty high up. But I don't know. It's like Michael O'Brien and Carlos Raposo. I guess.
I think we're going to come back and
Redo it. Because
Re-rank.
looking at some of the rankings with a little bit of time to digest and mull over, you realize we may have put things in the wrong place. And I think part of it's the fun metric, how much fun we had hearing and telling the story more than how wild something is. So I think I think it beats Eddie Goodell.
We need that scientific metric for wildness, a formula.
yeah, wild and mild. It's doing
It's vibes.
It's
yeah,
vibes.
it's doing all right. But yeah, I think it does beat Eddie Goodell because the whole story of Eddie Goodell it's a pretty cool story. The wildness of 3'8", 3'7" baseball player for a one-off at bat. Okay, that's pretty wild, pretty interesting. But a whole entire team going to play a tournament in an active war zone and only drinking beer.
Realistically, and I'm still thinking Chris Moneymaker beats it, but yeah, I reckon above Eddie Goodell simply because it's like that was like an underdog sort of story where it was like, he was playing online poker and he got picked up and went. So it's like an amateur going, and it's like similar sort of vibes, but I feel like that's still more impressive of a feat. The Socceroos, if we're calling it a preseason tournament, they had to play 3 games and then in the groups and then 2 games after, and they almost could have lost too. So it wasn't anything crazy. It was just a good fight.
I consider the Eddie Goodell story and the Drunk Socceroos both novelty kind of events. You've got a PR trip to Vietnam for a tournament, a bit of a novelty. It's not internationally recognized, we think, by other countries, and we don't even recognize it in our history. And a little person for the only ever at bat of a little person. It's a novelty thing. And I go, the fact that you sent a bunch of people over who had other jobs, paid them to go to an active war zone and play football, I think that's more wild.
Yep, I agree. I want to put it above Eddie Goodell,
Give him a hug.
just below Moneymaker, but in that 90% sort of range. And it's going on the board as the 1967 Drunk quotation Socceroos. Because technically they weren't called the Socceroos yet.
Yeah. And technically they were secret. Shh, don't talk about it. Never tell this story again. It's a secret history.
Yep, this is the one that's going to get us.
Yeah, the Socceroos are going to contact us and they'll be like, well, you got to take it down. We would never drink a beer and play a football match. That's not what we do. Shh.
Well, if the Socceroos were going to contact us, how would they do that?
Well, I haven't checked my Google Plus lately, but they might have messaged me on it.
They can find us on Wild World of Sport, wherever you get your podcasts. Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify,
And
Amazon
as for
Podcasts.
social media, it's the same thing. Wild World of Sport on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, wherever your favorite one is. That's where you can find us.
MySpace?
MySpace.
LinkedIn? Do we have a LinkedIn?
Do we have a LinkedIn?
Yeah, well, we're not going to go anywhere if we don't have a LinkedIn.
Do we have a feet finder?
A Tinder.
Grinder.
A Grindr.
Get on Grinder.
Maybe when we start posting some videos of the recording, we
Oh.
can get on Feed Finder.
We'll make an OnlyFans and we can get paid.
Please no. But that's where you can find us. I'm not setting up any new accounts until we get that Google Plus sorted. That's the number one
Yeah,
priority.
we're still we've got a support ticket open, but Google's just not answering our messages.
Classic. But if you want to get into contact with us, that's where you can. Let us know if you agree with where this story or any other ones were ranked. Let us know if you've got any crazy wild stories that you want us to tell.
Or if you have any questions about stories we've already told, and if you want more information or have anything to add to those. And just feedback in general. If you're liking the pod.
Only good feedback, though.
No, just
No
make sure
criticism.
it's constructive. You make what's it called, a compliment sandwich? Or is it a criticism sandwich where it's compliment bread?
I think we had one of those comments already.
yeah, our first episode.
But, if you have something negative to say, try to say something nice as well.
Yeah. Yeah, be kind. I'm fragile.
And wherever you are listening, make sure you follow, make sure you subscribe, make sure you give us 5 stars and a positive review. Help grow the show. Tell a friend about it.
Help us rank because we're bad at it.
And shame that friend if then they say they will listen to it and don't. Shame them.
Yeah, call them out for it.
And if you're one of those people that is at a party and you're making conversation, you say, oh, I heard this really cool fact about Eddie Goodell or the 1967 Socceroos, and you don't credit us, shame on you. Tell them where you heard it.
Also, Felix, I know you're listening to this, and I did steal this story from you, but to be fair, I told a lot more of it, so that's my excuse. Thanks.
And you told it on a larger platform.
Yeah. I said it with a louder voice. Therefore, I said it first.
That's how it works.
That is how it works.
Well, thank you, whoever you are, wherever you are, for listening and joining us on our journey to find the wildest story in the world of sport. My name's James Whybrow.
I'm James's brother Ben, no relation.
I'm Carlin. I'm drunk.
I love that. That's my favorite one so far.
Mwah. Bye.
See ya.
Enjoy.
I remember playing Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, and it was a really fun DS game. Oh, in fact, actually, I had played it on DS, but it's because I found it on the ground. I was when I was living in America, and I was walking along, and I looked in the grass, and I'm like, that's a DS game, and I picked it up, and it was like covered in dirt, and I like cleaned it off, and then I used it, and it still worked. It was awesome.
So fun.
It's a good find.